Hello to all class 12th children out there. And children, today we'll be doing the last portion of lesson number 5, that is theory of supply. Okay children, so today's the last topic is factors that affect price elasticity of supply. We all know that price elasticity is the responsiveness of change in supply due to the change in its price. When the price changes, the supply changes, and the measurement of this change is known as what? Price elasticity of supply. So we'll be moving forward with it. Okay. Alright. So the first factor which affects your price elasticity of supply is behavior of cost of production. First is your behavior of cost of production. Now what does this mean? This means that if the cost of production is high, then obviously the supply is going to be low, because if the cost of production is high, it becomes difficult for the producer to manage the cost, right? Because why the cost is rising, because maybe the input is expensive, maybe the raw material is expensive, maybe the machinery is expensive. So when the cost is going to be high, obviously the price is also going to be high, and the consumers, they are not going to purchase the expensive goods. In this case, too much price also leads to a problem for the producers, right? So if the cost is high, this means that what is going to happen here? In this case, the demand is going to be what? The demand is going to be relatively elastic. Here the demand is going to be relatively elastic, right? Elasticity of supply depends on change in the cost of production, additional quantity of output. If an increase in output by the firm in an industry causes only a slight increase in their cost per unit or leads to decrease in cost per unit, we would expect supply to be fairly elastic. If there is very slight change in the cost, then the supply is going to be elastic. There is no much issue about it. But if the cost of production is too high, then the supply is going to be relatively elastic, because too much of rise in the price leads the fall in demand, because if the price is high, the demand will fall, and automatically the supply will also fall. So the higher the price, the demand is going to be relatively elastic. Now the second factor which leads to the changes the price elasticity of supply is time element. Time element. Now what does this mean? If the producer have time for arranging machinery, raw material, in that case the elastic is going to be what? The price elasticity of supply is going to be elastic. Okay? A price changes due to change in demand for a commodity, right? Therefore in short run, supply tends to be relatively elastic. In short run, supply is going to be inelastic. Why we are saying so? Because in short run, it becomes difficult for the supplier or for the producer to arrange for the raw material, to arrange for the input, to arrange for the machinery. So in that case, what is going to happen? He will not be able, the producer will not be able to increase or decrease the supply. Rather, in the long run, he has sufficient time to arrange for labor, for other inputs also. That in that case, what is going to happen? The supply is definitely going to be elastic. So in long run, the supply is going to be more elastic, because the producer has a lot of time to arrange for the raw material, right? So the time element affects the supply to a great extent. Supply of a commodity in the ultimate analysis depend upon its production. A price Changes due to change in demand for a commodity may have a smaller response in quantity supply in short run. Therefore, in short run, supply tends to be relatively inelastic. However, in long run, new plants can be set up, raw material can be easily arranged, and other labor and other factors of production can easily arrange. That's why in long run, the supply is going to be what? More elastic. Now, the third factor on which the supply of elasticity depends, or the elasticity of supply depends, is the nature of commodity. Commodity. Now, when we are talking about the nature of the commodity, basically what do we mean? We mean, are we talking about durable products, or we are talking about perishable goods? What we are talking about? Okay? Nature is divided. The product can be durable or semi-durable or perishable. Now, durable goods are those goods which have very long life. They do not get spoiled easily. Like furniture, you can talk about machineries, these cloths. These are these are the things or the products which have long life. In the same way, the goods which do not have a very long life, rather they have a life of 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year, they are semi-durable goods. Like cloth, you can talk about. Cloth has a life of around 6 months or 1 year or 1.5 or 2 years, right? Same way, your mobile phones are also semi-durable goods. And the perishable goods, they are hardly have a life of 24 hours. Like you can talk about vegetables, fruits, then milk products. So upon the nature of the product also affects what the price elasticity of supply. How? For instance, the supply of durable product is relatively more elastic. Now the supply of durable product is going to be more elastic. More elastic. Because these products have very long life. The example can be furniture, the example can be car, the example can be machinery, right? They have very long life, and producing them for the producer is not an issue. In case the producer has produced a lot of durable goods, then he can easily store them and supply the product whenever he wants, right? So he can easily increase or decrease the supply of durable goods. As far as the as far as the semi-durable goods are concerned, they are relatively elastic. Relatively what? Elastic, you can say, right? Why? Because these goods are they have a life of around 6 months to 1.5 year or 1 year or 2 year. So their supply is also what? It's not much affected by the change in price. And as far as the perishable goods are concerned, these are those goods which have a very short life of say about 24 hours to 48 hours, 1 to 2 days. So in this case, what is going to happen? In this case, the producer will have to supply the product even if the price falls or rises, because in this case he can't keep the product with him because he has already produced the product, and he cannot keep them in store because they have very short life. So in this case, the supply is going to be what? Inelastic. Because in case like he has milk or curd, he cannot keep milk or curd with him for a very long period of time because they'll get spoiled, he'll get nothing out of it. So it's better to supply these kind of products even at the lower prices. So here the demand is going to be inelastic, right? He cannot much change the demand because the product is already what? Perishable. Okay? Like vegetable is relatively less elastic. The product cannot be stored. Change in their supply has to largely through change in what? Production only. So you can say relatively less elastic, or the another term you can use is relatively less elastic. Relatively less elastic. So no much change can be brought in the supply of perishable products. So this is your what? Third factor which affects your price elasticity of supply. Now we move to fourth factor. The fourth factor is availability of facilities for expanding output. Availability of expanding output. Availability of facility. Right? Now if the producer has the easy access to increase the input in order to increase the output, then the demand is definitely going to be what? Elastic, or relatively more elastic, right? But if the availability of raw material or other factors of production is not that easily accessible, then in that case, or the availability is not there, no accessibility is there, in that case the demand, the supply is definitely going to be what? Less elastic or inelastic, right? Now we can take example of teak wood. We can take an example of teak wood. Now, teak wood is a kind of wood which take a very long gestation period to grow and get mature, so that it can be used for the making of furniture and other things. So teak wood, it takes around 9 to 10, 12 years to grow, so that they are ready for cutting, and we can make furniture out of it, because the teak wood furniture is very famous world over. But if the availability of teak wood is not there in the market, then how the producers are going to produce the teak wood furniture which are very high in demand by the buyers? So in this case, what is going to happen? The availability of output is not that easy, because the producer want to expand his output, producer want to do more production of teak wood furniture, but as he has no accessibility, or he has no option of getting teak wood that easily, because the gestation period of teak wood, growing of teak wood takes a very high period of time, long period of time. So in this case, the elasticity is going to be inelastic or less elastic. But in the other hand, if there is easy availability of the raw material, or easy availability of the inputs, machineries, then in that case the supply is going to be what? Elastic. So easy availability leads to elastic supply, right? Uneasy availability leads to less elastic supply. It is not that easy, right? So if producer have sufficient production facilities, such as availability of raw material, power, etc., they would be able to increase their supply in response to the rise in price. So if there is easy availability of raw material, electricity, water, machinery, then in that case the supply can be easily increased or decreased, whatever the situation is like. So this, we are going to say that supply is what? Elastic, right? And in the case there is no availability of expansion of the output, then in that case the elasticity is going to be less elastic. Nature of input. Nature of input. Right, if the input which is required by the producer is easily available, is easily accessible, then in that case the production is going to be more, or the production is going to be feasible, and it will be, there will be what? There will be elastic supply of the product. But in case, like you can again take the example of teak wood out here, that in case the availability of the input is not that easy, the accessibility is not that easy, in that case what is going to happen? In this case again the production is going to be low, and so the supply is also going to be low. Okay? So easy available input has elastic supply, and vice versa, right? मतलब ये है, अगर आपको रॉ मटेरियल आसानी से मिल जाता है, मतलब प्रोड्यूसर को रॉ मटेरियल आसानी से मिल जाता है, तो प्रोडक्शन भी आसानी से होगा, जिससे क्या होगी? सप्लाई भी आसानी से होगी। तो जब सप्लाई आराम से बढ़ और घट सकती है तो हम इसको इलास्टिक कहते हैं, ठीक है? और जब सप्लाई आपकी बढ़ घट नहीं पा रही है क्योंकि आपके को इनपुट ही ढंग से नहीं मिल पा रहा है, तो उस केस में क्या होगा? उस केस में इलास्टिसिटी क्या हो जाती है? इनइलास्टिक हो जाती है, राइट? The third, sixth factor which affects the price elasticity of supply is nature of technique of production. Nature of technique of production. Now if your technique of production, when I say technique of production, I mean the way you're producing the good, the type of machinery you are using. If the technique of production is very complex, it's not that easy to understand, then it will become difficult for the producer to look for the labor who can handle the technique. So complex technique leads to inelastic demand, right? Complex technique leads to relatively less elastic supply and vice versa. Now the machineries which are very easy to handle, like which can be handled by everyone, anyone, skilled labor, unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor, they can easily handle any easy machinery. So in that case, the availability of labor is very easily available, because you need labor which can easily carry out that particular machinery, so operate that particular machinery. So in this case, what is going to happen? In this case, the production is going to be in a very smooth manner, and definitely the production, when the production gets very easily in smooth manner, in that case the supply becomes what? The supply becomes relatively elastic, or the supply is elastic, you can say. So the elasticity, the price elasticity of the supply depends to a great extent on the nature of technique of production. The difficult, the complex, the sophisticated the technique is, the lower will be the elasticity, and the simpler the machine is going to be, technique is going to be, the more the elasticity. The next you have is factor mobility. The next factor you have is, the next factor that you have is factor mobility. Now when we say factor mobility, what we mean is this, that the factor of production, that is the input, can be easily moved from one place to another, can they easily be substituted from one place to production, or from one thing to another, can we change the use of labor or machinery from one place to another, or we can change the substitute the change of it, we can use them in the production of some other good. So in case the mobility is higher in any factor of production, whether it's labor, whether it's capital, whether it's entrepreneur, if the mobility is higher, then in that case obviously the supply is going to be higher. So मोबिलिटी, व्हाट डू मीन बाय मोबिलिटी? मोबिलिटी का मीनिंग क्या है? मोबिलिटी का मतलब ये है कि आप इनपुट को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह इजीली मूव कर पा रहे हो, आप इनपुट को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह इजीली उनका प्रोडक्शन की प्लेसेस चेंज कर पा रहे हो, या रॉ मटेरियल और लेबर को आप एक जगह से हटा करके दूसरी चीज के प्रोडक्शन में लगा पा रहे हो। क्योंकि एंटरप्रेन्योर्स की है ये हैबिट होती है कि वो एक प्रोडक्शन से दूसरे प्रोडक्शन में फ्रिक्वेंटली चेंज करते रहते हैं, क्योंकि उनको जहाँ पे ज्यादा फायदा होता है वहां के प्रोडक्शन में लग जाते हैं। सो हायर द मोबिलिटी of input, more the elasticity, and vice versa, right? And vice versa. If resources can be easily shifted from production of one good to another, if resources can be easily shifted from production of one commodity to another commodity, this is known as what? Mobility. So if the mobility is high, then the elasticity is also going to be high, right? So whose production of the product whose price has increased, the price elasticity of supply will be more. In general, the ease with which factors of production can be moved from one place to another will affect the elasticity of supply. Okay. The ninth factor which affects the elasticity of supply is risk taking. Risk taking. If the entrepreneur is the nature of taking, he's got a nature of taking high risks. He does not get easily intimidated, then in that case he's a risk lover. Then in that case he's going to take risk. He's going to take risk for import, for output, for new factories, for new ventures. Then in that case definitely the elasticity is going to be what? The supply is going to be more elastic. But if a entrepreneur or the person is of a nature of not taking a risk, always take a safe way, or he's not a risk taker, then in that case the elasticity is going to be low. So higher the risk taking capacity of a producer, higher will be the elasticity. Higher the risk taking capacity, higher will be elasticity of supply, and vice versa. और इसका उल्टा भी होगा. लेकिन अगर किसी के अंदर रिस्क लेने की आदत ही नहीं है, किसी एंटरप्रेन्योर को रिस्क लेने की आदत नहीं है, तो what is going to happen? The supply is obviously going to be inelastic. So higher the risk, higher is going to be elasticity of supply. And the last factor which affects the elasticity of supply is expectation about future prices. Expectation about future prices. Now what happens here? If the producer has the expectation that the price of a certain commodity are going to rise in the near future, then obviously he is going to reduce his production right now, right? So that means the higher the chances of the price to raise, the elasticity is going to be more in that case, right? And the lower the chance of increase in the prices, if there are no future expectations of rising the prices or any kind of any change, then the supply is going to be what? Inelastic, right? So what we can do say is this: if the producer expect a rise in the price of a commodity, in the future producer will take to hold commodity to take advantage of the future prices. The supply will therefore be less elastic. Okay? If future expectations are there, future expectations of price rise are there, price rise is there, okay, supply is going to be इस केस में क्या होगा? Your supply is going to be less elastic, ठीक है, and vice versa. अगर किसी को लगता है कि भाई आगे जाकर के प्राइसेस में उतार चढ़ाव आने वाला है, तो ठीक है, आपकी तब क्या होगी? इलास्टिसिटी क्या होगी? थोड़ी लेस इलास्टिक होगी. सप्लाई इलास्टिसिटी क्या होगी? The supply is going to be less elastic. On the other hand, if they expect a fall in the future prices, अगर ऐसा लगता है कि फ्यूचर प्राइसेस में फॉल होने वाले हैं, तो वहां पे क्या हो जाएगी? सप्लाई इज गोइंग टू बी मोर इलास्टिक, ठीक है. इफ द फ्यूचर प्राइसेस के राइज होने की बात हो रही है, ठीक है, इफ द future producer will like to hold commodity to advantage of the rise of the future prices, the supply will therefore be less elastic. And in case that producer has the expectation that the price are going to fall in the near future, in that case the supply is going to be elastic, right children? So here we are finished with the factors which affect the price elasticity of supply, and not only we are finished with the topic, rather we are finished with the chapter also. We are finished with lesson number 5, that is theory of supply, in which we did the theory of supply as well as the price elasticity of supply. And soon we'll be starting with lesson number 6, and the name of this next lesson is your market mechanism, equilibrium price and quantity in a competitive market. The next chapter is going to be like that. So children, keep doing a project and your work also, keep preparing your notes also. Take care of yourself, stay at home, it's too warm outside, and even apart from virus, it's warm also, so stay at home and keep doing your projects and your work. Till then, bye.